Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center. This morning, we're blessed to have Jenny Hooks to provide us with a talk and meditation, and with Clint Brown and Connie Shaeffer to provide us with music. So at this time, we will go straight into the music, please.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Hi.
So you mentioned that now, actually we are worldwide, or anybody could watch us anywhere in the world. So the Unity song, I still like it, but I felt like maybe it needed a little more to it. So I wrote a little verse that honors our online presence. Unity, Sunday, that's the place to be. Joyful spirit to you and me, surrounded by the light. From the comfort of our room, we'll connect online with Zoom, till our meetings can resume. Catch up on the hugs. Unity, Sunday, that's the place to be. Joyful spirit to you and me, surrounded by the light. Not much talk of guilt or sin, surely you'll be welcomed in, greeted by a joyful grin, grounded in the now. Unity, Sunday, that's the place to be. Joyful spirit to you and me, surrounded by the light. Jesus Christ, Mohammed too, Buddha has a special view. Sufi spirit shining through, united in the love. Unity, Sunday, that's the place to be. Joyful spirit to you and me, surrounded by the light. Come on out into unity, it's a great community. Singing helps your soul be free, lightens up the heart. Last time. Unity, Sunday, that's the place to be. Joyful spirit to you and me, surrounded by the light. Surrounded by the light again. Surrounded by the light.
Thank you, Clint and Connie. So let us all take a breath together and we will go into prayer. Beloved presence, we are grateful to be gathered here together today. Grateful to see these beautiful faces and beautiful souls. Our eyes open more each day to what is going on into our world so that we know how to respond from our heart with love. We trust your guidance to help us know what is ours to do, both as individuals and as a community in this time of change. We pray for the well-being of all beings on our earth, for the freedom, liberty, and justice for all beings on our earth. We pray for our earth, our mother, that she may heal and we may join in that healing with her. We pray for the leaders of the world that have so much on their minds and in their hearts at this time. We pray they make the best decisions for their countries, their counties, their cities. We are grateful for our own interactions with family and friends. We're grateful for the technology that allows this at this time. And so it is with gratitude that we end this prayer. And so it is. And we will have more music, please.
So the whole issue of racial justice is still up for me big time. And we thought one song that works well in that mode is teaching songs about teaching your children, you know. It's a big advantage if you can get raised by, you know, parents with good ideas. So how about teach your children well? You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their feathers fell, it slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they pick, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you, of tender years, can't know the fears that your elders grew by. So please help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, your children's well, will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they pick, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
Thank you, Connie and Clint. And this morning, our guest speaker is Jenny Hooks, who will lead us in meditation, and she will give us a talk in whatever order serves you, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Deva. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here with you. It's funny, this last night I practiced my talk, and this morning I got up and did my meditation, and I thought, I think I'm going to give a different talk than the one I planned last night, but we'll see what happens. So today I am sitting in my meditation room, and this is where I sit every morning and every evening to do my meditation. And I was telling Dava that when I travel, I now, after I'm gone for a few days, I miss this space. I miss coming in here and it being so familiar and peaceful and calm. I wanted to talk to you about this book, the Bhagavad Gita, and this version of the Bhagavad Gita is a commentary by Sri Parhamsa Swami Vishwananda. And the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the literal translation is the Song of Love. And before I do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about how I got on this spiritual path. So in 2012, I was in a car accident. And at the scene of the accident, I keep going like this and touching my head. And in my mind, there was a hole in the top of my head and stuff was coming out. And periodically I would want to reach up and grab it. And then I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to let go of something. Maybe I shouldn't be grabbing it back. And I was so confused and touching my head. So first of all, just a little nursing tip. If you're at a soccer game or a football game or somebody falls off a ladder and they're going like this, it's a universal sign of a concussion. However, body, mind, and spirit all work together. And later I guess I was sitting in a car. I don't know if it was the police car or I don't know, but a tow truck came to tow my car. And someone was sweeping up glass from the street. And I thought, well, who's sweeping up my parts that were lost here? And I think I might have said that to Luca, and Luca said, what? And I thought, oh, I should be quiet now. And so that was just that day. And months later, I was driving to Longmont United Hospital and I was heading west on Mountain View. And I get almost to Maine and the road is blocked and there's fire trucks and ambulances and we're being rerouted down Kimbark away from Maine and had to go all the way around to get back to the hospital. Well, seeing another accident, I started to panic and I said, just keep going. You're going to physical therapy, just go. And so I did, and I did fine. After I took a few deep breaths and just kept going and did not try to look at what was happening on the road. And so I was a little surprised driving home. I get to the scene of the accident and there's nothing there, no fire trucks, no broken glass on the street, nothing. And I lost it. I had to pull over. I was shaking and crying, thinking, everybody thinks this place is all cleaned up and it's not. There's parts of people that broke open today that are right here in the street. Now I was aware that if I shared this story with anybody, they would just say I was crazy. So I kept it to myself. And for days, I could not stop thinking about this accident. And this was before I sat in meditation daily. But I just had to sit down and do something with this image of this car accident. And so through that meditation, not sitting at an altar, but sitting in a recliner in my family room, I see this image of a white horse with a chariot. And it comes to the scene of that accident and it cleans up all of the people in that accident. And there's several buckets, like putting these like shards of glass and so forth in different buckets. And I think, oh, it's all cleaned up now. And for some reason, I had such a sense of relief from that. Well, that white horse and that chariot was an interesting thing. At the end of this meditation, the horse communicates to me here's your bucket from your accident. I've been saving it for you. And I start looking through the bucket, and I think there's nothing here that I need or want, that's from where I came from, and it's not who I am today. And I leave it with the horse and the chariot. And that was the end of the meditation. But I had finally so much peace from driving home from the hospital that day and seeing that car accident. So fast forward a couple of years, and my son is going to the University of Western Washington. And he is someone who, well, I'll say that I raised a high-spirited child, stubborn, bright, smarter than his mom, which is a challenge for all parents. We should all have children not so clever because they're hard. And, you know, in the beginning, it's all about school and his courses and all this excitement. And somewhere at the end of the first year, the beginning of the second year, he starts joining this temple. And all he talks about is temple, temple, temple. And we're on the phone, and I'm like, so did you go to classes this week? And I'm asking questions like, are they asking you for money? Are they asking you to do certain things? And still, no, I go to morning prayers and evening prayers. Well, I took my kids to Unity in Boulder for Sunday school, and they were not into it. And it became a battle, and I thought, I'm not going to fight this battle. And I just went to church by myself, and it was a lot more peaceful than I went with my family. And Scout was never involved in any sort of spiritual practice. So I was alarmed. And one fall, Scout, who now goes by Krishna Priya, says to me, you have to come and take this meditation class. And I said, I was on the tip of my tongue to say, absolutely not. You sound like you're crazy. And then I had the thought, I can check this out for myself. I researched interventionists in the state of Washington. Should I need to extract my child from a cult? And there were supposed to be 3 people in the class that morning, and 2 people didn't show up. So I was the only one. And I walk in, and I see a large picture, and I don't know how well you can see this. This is the logo for Bhakti Marga, a white horse. And they had other pictures of this white horse with a chariot, like on the cover of the Bhagavad Gita. And before we even began, I was in tears sitting in that temple, seeing that white horse in this memory. And that was the beginning of this spiritual path of me following Bhakti Marga. But that was such a clue for me when I saw that white horse. And not only did I see it, but it brought tears to my eyes. And so that's how I got here. So now I'm going to share with you a little bit about the Bhagavad Gita. And the verse I chose is chapter 6, verse 34. Kanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavad dradam tashyaham niragramanye vayar eva sudaskaram. Restless indeed is the mind, O Krishna. It is vehement, strong, and unconquerable. I see it as hard to control as the wind. The Bible has a similar verse where Jesus says, the wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound. You cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. And in other Hindu scriptures, it refers to the mind as being a mad elephant. So as somebody with ADHD, I feel like I have to contend with a mad elephant every single day, with my mind bouncing here and there, back and forth and all around. Kanchalam means something that is always jumping and moving. It's often used to refer to something unstable. So when we think of like chemical compounds or a hydrogen bomb, those are pretty unstable elements. And Arjuna, so let me go back and talk to you a little bit about the Bhagavad Gita in this book. So there's 18 chapters, and each chapter is one day of the I don't know how you say it, Mahabharata War. So this occurred 5,000 years ago, and Arjuna is this strong warrior. And he's been a leader and a warrior for his whole life. And he is one of the Pandavas. And his cousins are the Kauravas. And the king is the father of the Kauravas. And he's blind. So we refer to him as the blind king. And so the next in line for the throne was to be one of the Pandavas, but the blind king insisted that it be his son, Duryodhan. And so there's all this drama before this war begins around the battle for the throne. And what this battle symbolizes is the battle for materialism, to control the throne, to control the wealth, to have all the material, luxurious items. And so the Pandavas try to work it out with the Kauravas, and they say, all right, we'll go out into this desolate area for 14 years, and when we come back, we'll have the crown. And so they go and they do that. And the land is desolate, and there's snakes, and there's all kinds of challenges, but they transform the land, and it's almost a paradise, and it's lush with greenery and food and water. And so now the king wants that land and still does not want to give up the throne. And so he says, let's have this dice game and we'll gamble and see who gets the crown. Now, back then, unlike now, women could have more than one husband. And so Draupadi was married to the 5 Pandava brothers. And the way it worked was they lived in a big house, and for 1 year, she slept in her private chambers with one of the brothers. And then after a year, it would transition to another brother and so forth. And she just rotated every year a different husband, which to me sounds very complicated and might create drama of its own. And I certainly wouldn't want 5 husbands, but anyway, that was the way it was then. So these 5 Pandava brothers are gambling with the blind king, and the blind king is cheating. And so wins. And so the Pandavas are, you can have this land, this desolate land, and you can have this, and you can have that. And they finally lost everything, and they decide that they will gamble Draupadi. And they lose. And so in order to humiliate the Pandavas and Draupadi, they go to remove her sari, and they start pulling at the fabric, and she's holding on as tight as she can. I mean, just fighting and fighting. And she calls to God in the form of Krishna with the name Govinda. And she yells, Govinda. And she's still fighting and pulling and trying to keep her sari. And she then says, I give up. I surrender. And in that moment, Krishna has altered her garment So they pull the long yards of fabric, and it's like a never-ending sari. They're pulling and pulling and pulling, but the sari never comes off until the soldiers, directed by the blind king to remove the sari, are exhausted. They're pulling for hours, and yet there she is, still wearing the sari. And later she says to Krishna, "What took you so long? Why was I standing there holding on so tight?" And Krishna says, "The moment you said go, I was here, but there was nothing I could do until you let go." And I just think that is such a beautiful story of surrender. So then the Pandavas say, "We're going to war. We're going to fight our cousins, the Kauravas." And war was a little more civilized back then. It was scheduled, and people, they planned, they got their armies, they developed their strategies, and when the first side was ready, they would blow a conch. But the war would not start until both sides blew the conch, indicating that they were ready for battle. So Arjuna is this strong warrior, and he's really struggling. How can I go to war against my uncles, against my cousins, my ancestors? What will they think of me? Surely I will go to hell. And Krishna says to him, "Yes, you will go to hell if you go to war and kill people." And Krishna says, "So then I won't go to war." And Krishna says, "But you must do your duty. Your duty is that of a warrior, of a leader in battle. If you don't do your dharma, you'll go to hell." So poor Arjuna is thinking, well, you can imagine what he's thinking, like he can't win. And then Krishna says to him, "However, if you do your duty with your focus upon me, upon God, and you are detached from the fruits of your action, then there will be no consequences for your role in this war. All the consequences will be mine." So what this war really represents is the battle between the mind and the heart. And we say that the longest journey we'll ever take is the distance from our mind to our heart. And so through the whole Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is struggling. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to kill my cousins. I don't want to kill, these people. And Krishna is constantly saying, you must do your duty. And so our duty, and why we read the Bhagavad Gita, is so that we can have that battle within ourselves and surrender our mind to our heart, to our soul, to that divine spark of divinity within us. So when our Atma rules our thoughts, not only do we become wise, the knowledge that we have can change to wisdom, but all the consequences of our actions are placed at the feet of the Lord, and we don't experience karmic consequences from them. So then we get to this verse, Kanchalam, restless indeed is the mind, O Krishna. It is vehement, strong, and inconquerable. I see it as heart control is the wind. So throughout the text, Krishna is explaining different types of yoga. And not yoga like I'm going to yoga Wednesday at 7 o'clock class, but yoga meaning to join or unite. And it refers to the union of the individual soul with the ultimate. And there's 4 main types of yoga that he talks about. And the first one is Bhakti Yoga, which is the path of devotion. There's jnana yoga, which is the path of knowledge. So you study, study, study. But unless you can take that information and surrender it to your heart, it's not very helpful. And then karmic yoga, which is selfless yoga, actions done while you're unattached to the fruits of action. And then there's Raja, the path of scientific meditation. And in this one, I picture as the old yogis in India sitting in a cave and meditating for hours and hours. And Arjuna asks Krishna, so what's the easiest path? What's the best way? What's the best route? And Krishna says, Bhakti yoga is the easiest way. You must surrender your mind to God. And to do that, you have to control your mind. And so, you know, he provides information about how to control the mind. And it's practice, practice, practice. It is on your spiritual path, whatever it is, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, you do your practice every day with the intention of surrender. So chanting the name of God continuously. It's recommended that you chant the name of God. You do 16 rounds of mala. So a round of mala is 108 beads. So 108 times 16, whatever that is, it's a big number, chanting the name of God that many times. Now, like if you were saying the rosary, there's 54 beads, but they're long prayers, the Hail Mary, the Our Father. When you're chanting the name of God, I say Om Namo Narayanaya. I give everything to the one who is in all things and whom all things dwell. Well, you can see that's a little bit easier than saying the whole Our Father. And that you do your meditation practice and that you sit in the quiet and you try to quiet your mind and you use techniques to quiet your mind, such as pranayamas, where you breathe in one nostril and breathe out the other. And there's a variety of techniques that I think this is so funny have been done for 5,000 years in India and elsewhere. And now Western medicine is studying this and finding out that, oh my goodness, when people meditate, they had these medical students and half of them meditated and chanted the name of God before an exam, and the other half just sat quietly and didn't do anything. And guess which half got the highest scores? And so Western medicine now is saying, oh, meditation is what you should be doing for your health and well-being. But this is actually not new stuff. It's been going on for 5,000 years, but you know, now Western medicine is going to claim it because they've studied it. So, so back to this journey of from the head to the heart and how to get there. So I want to share a story that is here in this chapter, in this commentary by Swami Vishwananda. And it's about this evil king, Kamsa. And he is worried about Krishna. He hears stories about Krishna living in Vrindavan. And like in other biblical stories, you know, they're going to kill this savior person so that they can still be king and support their egos and their wealth. And so he calls Krishna and his friend Balarama to leave Vrindavan and to come to Madura. And the plan is when they get to Madura, there's this big arena, and he's going to have a mad elephant there, and he's going to have the mahout, the person who's controlling the mad elephant in a pen, let the elephant out, and that elephant will gore or trample and kill Krishna and his friend Balarama. So Kama seems like a really nice guy, doesn't he? So in my mind, I picture it almost like a bullfight walking into the arena. And so so this happens, and the king is in the arena, and he's watching, and he's looking forward to this gory event. And the Madura releases the elephant, one punch, pow, the elephant's dead. And Krishna takes the tusk of the elephant and puts it around his neck and walks around the arena. So in this story, the mighty elephant represents the mind, the chaotic mind. And it is with God that we can control the mad elephant. And so it's showing that Krishna is without limitation, like Jesus is without limitation and is able to control the mind. And really, when you think about the crucifixion, Jesus must have had a very controlled mind to allow himself to be crucified. So, so when we think about this, I feel like from the School of Hard Knocks, I could have my PhD in catastrophizing. Like you listen to the news and, or I don't know, something happens, you lose your job and you think, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to lose my car, I'm going to lose everything. Now, none of those things have happened except for in your mind. And just going on and creating some fantasy about what will happen because of this bad news that you received. And how many of us do that? And how many of us do it more often now that we watch the news and we see the chaos? And how often do we watch the news and feel really, really angry at our leaders in this country? So how do we control the mind? And I feel like we're living in sort of these biblical times where there's a pandemic and there's killer wasps and there's locusts eating all of the crops in India. And there's all these different things going on. And it just seems like, like at the Passover and the 12 plagues. It just feels like we're in these biblical times. And yet with all this social isolation, we're given the gift of time to make that journey from our mind to our heart, to begin to follow a spiritual path and to have faith and to trust that we will be guided. I have said from time to time that surrender to me feels like being blind. I'm in a room that's completely dark with not even the tiniest bit of light. But there, in that space, is God. And I'm holding on to the crook of their arm and they're guiding me. I still want to know what's going to happen next. And I'd prefer that somebody turn the lights on. But that's not how surrender works. And I sometimes think if I can move to the next level of surrender, where I'm just holding the hand of God and trusting that all is well, and not even needing to know or wonder about what's coming next, but rather just being in the moment. And it may appear that everything seems hopeless and sad, but when I look inside at my own divinity and I have faith in God, then I have nothing to worry about and can only trust that all is well. And so it is. And so now let's, Dave, I don't know if we do a song now or I should go into meditation.
Let's do the meditation.
Okay. So let's just all take a deep breath together. And with our feet on the floor, just begin to notice the tension in our body and our neck and shoulders and our arms and legs. And just take another deep breath and surrender that tension. And allow yourself to relax. There's no right or wrong in meditation. There's only the path that you follow. So continue to follow your breathing. Allow your breath to breathe you. And just watch your mind for a moment. Watch its thoughts. Watch how it dances from one thing to another. And then put your focus on your third eye, that space right between your eyebrows. And see that third eye as the door to the pathway to your heart. And see an image of God, any image of God that brings you comfort, Divine Mother, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. See that divine image of God guiding you from your third eye to the medulla oblongata in your brain, and then down to your heart chakra, your heart center. And you continue to visualize that image of God in your heart, guiding you, directing you. God is always with you and always within you. You are never alone. Continue to solidify this image of God in your heart with you now. See yourself radiating that light from your heart center. Know that this light is always accessible to you. And as you go about your daily life, remember that that spark of divinity is within you. And you can walk in this world of darkness, shining that beautiful light and bring the light to those around you. You are the light of the world. Take a few minutes. Just breathe in the thoughts of this meditation, the images, the beauty. And when you're ready, begin to feel the seat beneath you. your feet on the ground. And come back to the space that you're in, knowing that you are the light of the world. And so it is.
Remarkable, Jenny. Thank you. We'll finish our service today with 2 songs from Connie and Clint, please.
Well, I mentioned Ibram X. Kendi, and it's very interesting. It's not all light reading, but it's very hopeful. So I would recommend it. This is a song we're going to do that was originally a gay pride song written by Holly Near, and I think it applies well. Connie pointed out that when we sing this, if we sing it gently, it's more powerful than if we shout it out. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people, we are singing, singing for our lives. We are justice-seeking people. We are singing, singing for our lives. We are justice-seeking people. We are singing, singing with our lives. We are a land of many colors. We are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors. We are singing, singing for our lives. And the last line. We are singing, singing for our lives.
And if you would, we'll finish with one more song.
Well, it was the 4th of July, and in a nod out to this land, a song just came to me this morning. And always, as always, if you're sure you're on mute, feel free to sing along. I'll bet you know it. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me the endless skyway. I saw below me Golden Valley, singing this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land